if you're good enough, I don't think there are barriers.
At the end of the day, the relationships are everything. The accolades and different things, they're cool, they're great, and we keep score. But they don't mean anything unless you're sharing them with other people.
The best guys do that. The best coaches do that. They're never embarrassed when it comes to the board, and they're never embarrassed when it comes to explaining their tactics. But that doesn't define them.
Have you ever wondered how someone like Jurgen Klopp or Pep Guardiola becomes the world's best? I interviewed 3 of the most elite coaches on the planet, and I learned some very unexpected lessons. What I thought to be advice about coaching or playing soccer actually turned out to be something that's much more applicable to everyone in their life. So if you're an aspiring coach or player, or even just someone that wants to feel more fulfilled by what they do, you're going to want to watch this video.
My name is Jeremy Gunn. I'm the head coach at Stanford University.
Ryan May, I'm the head of coaching and development at Aston Villa Football Club in the academy.
I guess it's my job to make sure there's a conveyor belt of talent in all positions.
The first thing that really stood out to me was the undying passion that was built from an early age.
I fell in love with soccer at a young age. The most important item of ownership was a soccer ball. That was everything. Right. Earliest Christmas presents was a Leeds United kit that I remember. My whole extended family were all mad Leeds fans. And so grew up watching them as a young kid, and then I actually moved all over the country. And I was always in another city, still being a Leeds fan and getting taunted for being there. And then started playing when I was young, Probably it wasn't until about 10 though, because there wasn't organised games up until about that age. And did that, grew up playing. Actually, I played for some of the local clubs where I lived, and I could have left school at 16 and pursued, it was called a YTS at the time, apprenticeship, but I had half a brain, and I actually also played cricket at the time, and I was hedging my bets with sports.
Well, born and raised in Glasgow from Scotland. A family of soccer players. My dad was a professional. My 2 brothers played professionally. So I had a long playing career, and towards the end of it, I became interested in coaching. So right after, when I stopped playing, I played in the Scottish Premier League for a long time, and played for the Scotland under-21 team, won the cup in Scotland.
Yeah, well, I suppose how you get there is a lot of sacrifice, a lot of hard work, and a bit of luck as well. It's probably that stereotypical thing. So I started my coaching quite young. I did my B license, my UEFA B license when I was 17, and I passed my UEFA A license at the time. I was the youngest to have done it at 21. I'm sure there's someone that's surpassed that. Someone's a lot cleverer than me now. But I suppose in essence, I was a player that knocked on the door of being professional in and around it. And an injury at 19 then sort of forced my hand a little bit. So back in the day, there weren't too many jobs, full-time jobs within football. So it was an opportunity that I thought, well, we'll give it a go.
I was introduced to soccer in America, like at camps and things. And I met Bobby Clark over here, a Scottish international, who was a head coach at Dartmouth and Notre Dame, Stanford. Through Bobby, I get introduced to Richie Graham, who's one of the owners of the Philadelphia Union. And I would say that's why I'm sitting here now.
Because in essence, in our business, there are probably, let's say, 1,000 jobs full-time within, I suppose, even the academy system. And there's probably 30,000 coaches that are qualified to be able to do it. So the market to get in is quite tough. But there are so many opportunities now within football that are paid that I never had. So there weren't grassroots companies, there weren't collegiate jobs, there weren't university jobs, there weren't further education jobs. There's lots of opportunities to get your foot into paid employment within coaching. So if you enjoy it, take opportunities and never say no, you'll amass the experience, and then who knows.
Next, I wanted to find out what truly makes the difference between the world's most elite coaches and everybody else.
I've had the incredible fortune at Stanford. I got to spend an extended period of time with Antonio Conte, and he wanted to learn English. So he used me as a soccer dummy to use his English soccer language, you know. Jurgen Klopp had his pre-season with Liverpool. Louis van Gaal with Manchester United. Alex Ferguson was there at the time with it. Jurgen Klinsmann with the national team. And we see all of these incredibly successful people, and that they all have very emotional intelligence. They have incredible ways of connecting with people. And so if you want to ask what's the difference between the best and the rest of us, I'd say it's the people skills. And I think young coaches, we're all watching YouTube videos of how to copy Pep Guardiola. But for me, when I get around these great people, it's not the session that I'm actually as concerned with, because most of it's give or take, and who knows why they're doing the session that way. It might be to work on a specific type of player that's totally different. I look at the people, and I look at the interactions, and I look at Jurgen Klopp's amazing because he lights a person up in the middle of the session, and then as they're walking off to get a drink, he's got his arm around their shoulder, and he's giving them a hug and kind of, telling them, hey, you got it, I love you, I'm with you, and I'm going to keep kicking you up the backside.
I think it's a number of things. I think the biggest thing, it's not really about what in your head. The X's and O's lots of people can have. I think it's the ability to relate and your personality, the ability to connect with people, and I suppose understand how that emotional intelligence and that situational awareness blends together to meet the needs of the individuals at that point in that time, and it changes every day.
Good coaching should be implicit and should be guided rather than explicit and, like, this is what you do and this is where you should be. So my view has, since I've come to the country, has always been to invest in American players and invest in American coaches. Now, our academy's got a diversity of staff, but we do have the biggest majority of staff are American, and I've seen the difference since I've come here. That they're all licensed, they're all desperate to improve, desperate to learn. I think that has impressed me and surprised me to some extent.
I'm very self-aware of the coach that I want to be, and I always know when I'm not quite nailing it. And it's funny, every season we get into a super competitive situation. We're game in, game out, and it goes, and there's so much to do and so many soccer things to work on. Every season I have to catch myself when I'm trying to hammer it into the guys who are going to do, adult people, young men. Okay, let me take a step back, and rather than every time I'm walking back and forth to training, chatting with them about something that we need them to work on or whatever, it's a how's it going? And not just it's like people use these words and they don't even listen to the answer, but it's literally looking people in the eye and talking with them, not at them,
If you stop doing that, if you stop being curious and trying to get better, you're as well just forgetting it.
Yeah, never say no to a coaching opportunity. Whatever that is, whether that's working with boys, whether it's working with girls, whether it's with disability, social inclusion. If you can get on the grass and work with people to coach, you'll develop your adaptability, you'll develop your communication skills, you'll develop your ability to build rapport, you'll, I suppose, via osmosis, develop that emotional intelligence and situational awareness. So that experience piece is huge. So amass as many opportunities and experiences as you can. Be patient, don't be in a hurry. If you're good, you'll come through, and you never know when that next opportunity is there. You never know who's watching, so you get those chances, and don't be put off by potentially knockbacks.
Some guys the only voice you hear is theirs. Jim sets up activities that provoke responses for the players and help and guide them towards a solution. So his voice is not heard a lot. And the best guys that I've worked with and seen spend a lot of time in preparation and then turn it over to the players. So the ones that you hear all the time screaming and shouting for the sideline and during the training invariably are not successful.
And look, everybody Everybody's very, very normal at heart. And the fun thing is, the most successful people I've met also have often been the ones with the most humility. And it's funny that the people that I've been desperate to ask questions of, when I've had time with, they're actually asking me about, "Oh, how does all this college system work? That's weird." They're just naturally inquisitive. And so they've managed to acquire a wealth of knowledge and skills by learning.
It's not about the tactic board. I could give you 100 guys that could go up and impress you with the tactic board. And that's part of it. It's building and developing a relationship with your players, getting the best out of them, knowing how when to be tough and when to put your arm around them, you know, having an empathy and an understanding. The best guys do that. The best coaches do that. They're never embarrassed when it comes to the board, and they're never embarrassed when it comes to explaining their tactics. But that doesn't define them. It's their interpersonal skills and relationship with people that separates the good from the great.
And then, in all 3 interviews, without being prompted, things took a very unexpected turn. Real quick, before we get into that, if you've resonated with anything in this video or learned just one thing, I would really appreciate if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel so that more people can find this. Thank you so much.
I grew up at a stage where, you know, there's a lot of the tough love, and it was putting people through the uncomfortable situations to see who became stronger. And the game itself was very, very physical, very much a battle, you know. And what happened was we all decided that this can be more sophisticated, which is great. But I do think we've got to a stage where we're almost going too sophisticated. We're thinking so much about X's and O's, so much about technique, and we're creating coaches rather than teachers.
Hearing Sir Alex Ferguson saying it, and I'm not sure it was him, but I think it was, when you get there is no there, you know. So I remember at Rangers being desperate to, when we got there at first, be desperate to win the league and the cup, and we did. And it was like, okay, what's next? So that's how I feel here. What's next?
I always talk about values. The talk I did on a high-performance environment. It's all about identity, values, and the things that drive everything. I truly believe that so many values and skill sets are transferable. But if you think that people are everything and that communication is the bridge between people, people can have very different abilities at who they communicate with, how they communicate, and at what ages they communicate well with. And so that is different.
If you spend your whole life in working for the Federation, you become institutionalised. If you spend your whole life working at a club, you only see it through the club's lens. So we need to get experienced people who have got that perspective.
I never take myself too seriously. I think it's something that's kind of a positive for me, but it's a negative when people look at me sometimes, because I like to make fun of people. I like to have fun made of me. But if I crack a joke at somebody who thinks that I'm supposed to be important, yeah, it can hurt their feelings or whatever. You know, and I kind of like, hey, I'm just being normal, you know.
Now coaches have to coach players, not sessions. And that's hard, to be able to spin 16 different plates within a session. So you have to be more adaptable. You have to probably have a great skill competency level. So yeah, it's evolution all the time, really.
They're reachable, and I'd say to any of the young aspiring coaches, dream big, you know, dream big, set out what you want to become and look at those people, emulate them, make it your own, but don't be afraid and don't be intimidated.
Coaching's just like teaching. It's a great profession. If you've got an interest in it, just try and be the best that you can be in it. Read, learn, phone up people like me and ask if you can come in and because we were all novices at one point. And then when you start doing it, remember it's about the players.
What you've just seen in this video are short clips of what are full-length interviews that you can find on the It's Called Soccer Patreon. Follow the link down below in the description and the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time on It's Called Soccer. Peace.